Hello everyone, welcome to Decode ITES. This is a single learning platform for multiple IT infrastructure technologies. Do like, share and subscribe our channel to never miss out our videos. Let's continue with the learning. Let's have a small introduction of myself. My name is Prince Garg. I'm having 3 plus years of work experience and worked on Red Hat, VMware, Windows, Google Cloud, PowerShell, Python and Bash scripting. Kindly follow us on Facebook, Insta, LinkedIn, and reach out to us on itesfund.com. Welcome back everyone to Decode ITES in the Learning of VMware course VCA plus VCP. In this course, I will teach you about all the concepts of virtualization and also how VMware virtualization works along with the vCenter, or you can say the vSphere. So to start with, there is a topic Introduction to Virtualization. In this topic, you will gonna learn what is virtualization, how does it work, and also the benefits of virtualization. Let's continue. So the first question is, what is virtualization? Virtualization uses software to create an abstraction layer over the computer hardware that allows the hardware elements of a single computer like processor, memory, storage and more to be divided into multiple virtual computers, commonly called as VMs, the virtual machines. Each virtual machine runs its own operating system and behaves like an independent computer, even though it is running on just a portion of the actual underlying computer hardware. It follows that virtualization enables more efficient utilization of physical computer hardware and allows a greater return of an organization's hardware investment. Today, virtualization is a standard practice in enterprise IT architecture. It is also the technology that drives cloud computing economics. And virtualization enables cloud providers to serve users with their existing physical computer hardware. It also enables cloud users to purchase only the computing resources they need when they need it, and to scale those resources cost effectively as their workload grows. When I say they can purchase only the computing resources they need when they need it, is just like when they're running their application with 2 GHz processor and 2 gigs of RAM. But at some point of time, they require 4 gigs of RAM and 2 per processor of same 2 gigs of code. So then it can automatically convert it to the same configuration and the user can be paid by that part. Okay, so like most organizations, we are probably facing new IT challenges as our business evolves and grows. In a dynamic environment, we need to improve agility to keep pace with fast changing business needs. We are demanding more responsive services and with more sophisticated applications. As we try to keep pace with the new requirements and growing demands, our IT infrastructure is becoming larger and more complex, putting more pressure on our IT organization. Virtualization helps address our most pressing technology challenge. The infrastructure is sprawl that's forcing IT departments to channel 70% of their budget into maintenance and sapping resources for business building innovation. The difficulty stems from the architecture of today's x86 computers, or you can say the 32-bit computers. They're designed to run just one operating system and application at a time. That means that even small data centers have to deploy many servers, each operating system at just 12% of capacity. That's highly inefficient by any standard. This means that if you are having 5 servers and you are consuming 50% resource of each server, so 50% remaining is just useless. Virtualization software solves the problem by enabling multiple operating system and application to run on one physical server, or we can say the host. So what in layman's term virtualization is? It is often the creation of many virtual resources from one physical resource. The creation of one virtual resource from one or more physical resource. Both the statements are similar, but I just want to create a layman term to explain it better to you. Also, if we can take an example in the layman term, it's like you are having 10 servers on your data center and you are running applications, databases, and some more things on that. So let's say you are having 3 servers per application which are consuming 40% of resource, and rest of the 60% hardware is not getting consumed. So it's waste of money and waste of hardware as well. If we talk about the database servers, let's say you are having 2 database servers, they are consuming 60% utilization. 40% is then useless. So uh, by virtualizing your environment, you can just turn up with some smarter way and install multiple operating system on a single hardware and utilize most of the resource. These few terms is frequently used to convey one of these concepts in a variety of areas such as networking, storage, or hardware. What are the benefits of virtualization? The first one is resource efficiency. Second is easier management. Then we come with minimal downtime. And at the end, we are having faster provisioning. So, what does this mean? If we dig in for these one, we can say that by the resource efficiency, this means that before virtualization, each application server required its own dedicated physical CPU. IT staff would purchase and configure a separate server for each application they wanted to run. IT team preferred one application and one operating system per computer for reliability reasons. In a variety, each physical server would be underused, and in contrast, server virtualization lets you run several applications, each on its own VM with its own OS on a single physical computer, without sacrificing the reliability. This enables the maximum utilization of the physical hardware computing capacity. If we talk about easier management, it's just like replacing physical computer with a software-defined VMs makes it easier to use and manageable policies written in the software. It allows you to create automated IT service management workflow. For example, automated deployment and configuration tools enable administrators to define collections of virtual machines and applications as services in software templates. This means that they can install those services repeatedly and consistently without cumbersome, time-consuming, and error-prone manual setup. Admins can use virtualization security policies to mandate certain security configurations based on the role of the virtual machine. So, minimal downtime. OS and application crashes can cause downtime and disrupt user productivity. Admins can run multiple redundant virtual machines alongside each other and failover between them. When problem arises, running multiple redundant physical servers is more expensive. And if we talk about the virtualization, you can just take the snapshot, which we will talk in our coming lessons. That what is a snapshot? A snapshot is just like a backup which you can store in a click and also restore the same in a single click. It will not take much time. It depends on the like resource of your virtual machine, how much memory it consumed and how much storage it is having. But yes, it's very easy. Also, if you are running a physical machine and by some way network goes down, someone needs to get this checked manually. But under the VMs, this is not the way. You can connect or disconnect any virtual LAN on the machine. Also, under the virtualization environment, we are not having a single LAN cable only. We are having multiple LAN cables which are connected through the teaming. At the last, we'll talk about faster provisioning. Like buying, installing, and configuring hardware for each application is time consuming. Provided that the hardware is really already in place, provisioning virtual machine to run all your application is significantly faster. You can even automate it using management software and build it into existing workflows. The last slide is related to the virtualization solutions. Like what are the solutions we are having in the market right now? Like several companies offer virtualization solutions covering specific data center tasks or end user focused and the desktop virtualization scenarios. Better known examples include VMware, which specializes in server, desktop, network, and storage virtualization. And VMware is the king of virtualization, I would say, because the features and the support VMware is providing, nobody is providing as of now, as per my experience. It is having an over-commitment policy, by which if you are having 16 gigs of RAM on your physical server, you can create 4 machines or 5 machines with 8 gigs of RAM. And it can also take up the RAM from another machine if it's not in use, like from the another host. We will discuss all these concepts in our lessons, although I would say you are not able to grasp the same at this point of time. Citrix, which has an application virtualization, but also offers server virtualization and desktop virtualization solutions. Citrix nowadays are providing virtual desktops as well, by which if you are having 100 employees, then you need not to provide them high-end laptops or high-end desktop. You can just provide them a minimal configuration laptop or desktop, and they can take the remote of the virtual desktop and work on them, as it's much cheaper. And Microsoft, whose Hyper-V virtualization solution ships with Windows and focuses on virtual versions of server and desktop computers. Hyper-V is also a good solution, but it is having some limitations, as it needs a OS to be installed first, then Hyper-V work. So that's all for the introduction with virtualization. I hope you get all the points. If you're having any queries or any questions, you can just drop a comment in the comment section or reach out to us on itesfun.com. Thank you. Welcome back everyone to the learning of virtualization. In this lesson, we will gonna learn what are the types of virtualization. So in today, the term virtualization is widely applied to a number of concepts, including storage virtualization, desktop virtualization, CPU, network, data, application, and the most important are data center virtualization, Linux virtualization, and cloud virtualization. So what are these? Let's take a look at it. First, we'll talk about desktop virtualization. This lets you run multiple desktop operating systems, each in its own virtual machine on the same computer. There are two types of desktop virtualization. The first one is VDI, Virtual Desktop Infrastructure, that runs multiple desktops in VMs on central server and stream them to users who log in to thin client devices. In this way, VDI lets an organization provide its users access to a variety of operating systems from any device without installing the exact OS on any device. Second one is local desktop virtualization, like that runs a hypervisor on a local computer, enabling the user to run one or more additional operating system on that computer and switch from one operating system to another as needed without changing anything about the primary OS. Then we comes with the network virtualization. It uses software to create a view of the network that an administrator can use to manage network from a single console. It abstracts hardware elements and functions like connections, switches, routers, etc. and abstract them into software running on a hypervisor. The network administrator can modify and control these elements without touching the underlying physical component, which dramatically simplifies network management. So there are two major types of network virtualization that include SDN, software defined networking, which virtualizes hardware that control network traffic routing, like called the control plane. Then we come with network function virtualization, NFV, which virtualizes one or more hardware appliances that provide a specific network function, like firewall, load balancer, or traffic analyzer, making those applications easier to configure, provisioning, and managing. Now we are having storage virtualization. It enables all the storage devices on the network, whether they are installed on individual servers or standalone storage units, that to be accessed and managed as a single storage device. Especially storage virtualization merges all blocks of storage into single shared pool, from which they can be assigned to any VM on the network as needed. Let's say if you are having 4 storage of 1 TB each, then the storage virtualization combines all the 4 TB storage and create one container. From that, you can divide the required storage to each virtual machine. And also the storage virtualization makes it easier to provision storage for VMs and making maximum use of all available storage on the network. Data virtualization. In the modern enterprises, store data from multiple applications using multiple file formats in multiple locations that range from the cloud to on-premise hardware and software systems. Data virtualization lets any application access of that data, irrespective of the source format or location. Data virtualization tools create a software layer between the applications accessing the data and the systems storing it. The layer translates an application's data request or query as needed and returns results that can span multiple systems. This can help breaking down data silos when other types of integration aren't feasible, desirable, or affordable. Now we come with the concept of application virtualization. It runs application software without installing it directly on the user's operating system. This is a bit different from complete desktop virtualization as we have discussed above, because only the application runs in a virtual environment. The operating system on the end user device runs as usual. There are three types of virtualization, like the local application virtualization, and this entire application runs on the endpoint device but runs in the runtime environment instead of the native hardware. Second one is application streaming. The application lives on a server which sends a small component of the software to run on the end user device when needed. The third one is server based application virtualization. The application runs entirely on the server that sends only its user interface to the client device. Let's say you are having an application, your organization built it, and you want your customers or users to work on that application as well from their end if they have taken licenses. So there is a product called Citrix Virtualization. You can use that product and install the complete setup of that application on your end, and you need not to provide the on-premise solution. Then by using the URL, that is a SaaS based service, the customer can access it and also manage the same. They can insert data, delete data and all. They can also launch the SQL server as well, which is completely virtually web based interface. But they will get a pop-up of SQL server. Data center virtualization. It abstracts most of the data center hardware into software, effectively enabling an administrator to divide a single physical data center into multiple virtual data centers for different clients. Each client can access its own infrastructure as a service, which is called as IaaS, which would run on the same underlying physical hardware. The virtual data center offers an easy on-ramp into cloud-based computing, letting a company quickly set up a complete data center environment without purchasing infrastructure hardware. Now CPU virtualization. The CPU virtualization is the fundamental technology that makes hypervisors, virtual machines and operating systems possible. It allows a single CPU to be divided into multiple virtual CPU for use by multiple VM. At first, CPU virtualization was entirely software defined, but many of today's processors include extended instructions that support CPU virtualization, which improves VM performance. We come with Linux virtualization. It includes its own hypervisor called the kernel-based virtual machine, in short KVM, which supports Intel and ADM's virtualization processor extension so that you can create x86 based VM from within a Linux host OS. As an open source operating system, Linux is highly customizable. You can create VM running versions of Linux tailored for a specific workload or security hardened version for more sensitive applications. At the last, we will discuss about the cloud virtualization. As noted last, the cloud computing model depends on virtualization. By virtualizing servers, storage, and other physical data center resources, cloud computing providers can offer a range of services to customers, including the following: IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. Infrastructure as a service is just a virtualized server, storage, and network resource you can configure based on their requirement. Platform as a service is a virtualized development tool, database, and other cloud-based services you can use to build your own cloud-based application and solutions. Software as a service is a very interesting thing nowadays. Software applications you use on the cloud. SaaS is the cloud-based service most abstracted from the hardware. Now we have covered up the types of virtualization. In the next lesson, we will gonna learn how the hypervisor works and the types of hypervisors. Also, which is the best hypervisor in the market. Also, it depends upon your requirements and your understanding. But yes, still we will discuss that. That's all for this lesson. If you have any queries, you can comment in the box or reach out to us on itsfund.com. Thank you. Welcome back everyone to the learning of virtualization with the VMware under the Decode ITS. In this lesson, I will teach you about the introduction to hypervisor. Let's continue. So the first question is, what is a hypervisor? A hypervisor, also known as a virtual machine monitor, or you can say VMM, is a software that creates and runs virtual machines. A hypervisor allows one host computer to support multiple guest virtual machines by virtually sharing its resources, such as memory or processing units. A hypervisor is computer software or hardware that enables you to host multiple virtual machines. Each virtual machine is able to run its own programs. A hypervisor allows you to access several virtual machines that are all working optimally on a single piece of computer hardware. For the most part, cloud computing entails you being able to access a virtual machine for you to be able to do what you need to do anywhere. A hypervisor manages these virtual machines. With a hypervisor, each virtual machine or operating system you have will be able to run its own programs, as it will appear that the system has the host hardware's processor, memory, and resources. In reality, however, it is actually the hypervisor that is allocating those resources to the virtual machines. So under the virtualization, we can see like we can host multiple machines under the single hardware. If you can look out to the diagram, here is a traditional architecture where we are having the hardware layer and then the operating system and then the application which we like to run. So under the single hardware, we are able to run only one operating system at a time and also the single application as well. You can host multiple applications, but that is limited to the single operating system only. If we look out to the virtual architecture, this is showing that under the hardware layer, like over the top of the hardware layer, we are having the VMware operating system. We cannot say that it is an operating system, it is a bare metal hypervisor which doesn't require a operating system. There are two kinds of you can say virtualization solutions, or you can say like the virtualization techniques available in the market. We'll discuss this later. But apart from this, like over the top of the VMware solution, we are having multiple operating systems and multiple apps running on them. So it virtualizes many virtual machines using hypervisor technology. Why use a hypervisor? Hypervisors make it possible to use more of a system's available resources and provide greater IT mobility, since the guest VMs are independent of the host hardware. This means they can be easily moved between different servers, because multiple virtual machines can run off of one physical server with a hypervisor. A hypervisor reduces space, energy, and maintenance requirements. So let's talk about the types of hypervisor in the market. The two type of hypervisors. The type 1, which is also called as the bare metal or the native hypervisor. It runs directly on the system hardware. We can say a bare metal embedded hypervisor. If you can look out to the diagram, for the type 1 hypervisor, we are having the host hardware where we are having storage, memory, and processor, all of them there. Then we are having the hypervisor layer directly. There is no operating system in between them. And above them we are having operating systems and the applications installed under them. For the type 2 hypervisor, which is also known as hosted hypervisors, it runs on a host operating system that provides virtualization services such as input-output device support and memory management. If we look out to the type 2 hypervisor diagram, we can see here is the host hardware, then there is an operating system layer, and then there is the same architecture like the type 1 hypervisor, that hypervisor, and then the operating system under which the applications are running. For the type 1 hypervisor, this is when the hypervisor are run on the host hardware to control it as well as manage the virtual machine on it. If we are currently using Microsoft Hyper-V hypervisor, VMware ESX, or you can say ESXi, Oracle VM Server for x86, KVM, which is the Linux based bare metal solution, or the Citrix Xen server, then this is the type of hypervisor which you are working with right now. If we look out through the performance, it's given that the type 1 hypervisor is relatively simple and they do not offer many functionalities. Once we boot up a physical server with bare metal hypervisor installed on it, it displays a command prompt like screen. If we can't connect to the monitor to the server, we get some hardware and network details only. This consists of CPU type, amount of memory, and IP address, also the MAC addresses. We can see this while we install and run the hypervisor. Another type 1 hypervisor may look different, but could also only allow for simple server configuration. This consists of changing date, time, IP address, passwords, etc. In order to create virtual instance, we need to use a management console setup on another machine. Using the console, we can connect to the hypervisor on the server and manage the virtual environment. One of the best features of hypervisor is that they allow over allocation of physical resources. Like with the type 1 hypervisor, we can assign more resources to a virtual machine than we are actually having. Example, we are having 128 gigs of RAM on our server, and we have created 8 virtual machines. We can assign 24 GB of RAM to each of them. This totals 192 gigs of RAM. But VM themselves will not actually consume all 24 GB. The VM think they are having 24 GB. In reality, they only use the amount of RAM they need to perform the particular task. Let's talk about the type 2 hypervisor. These hypervisor are run as a software using an operating system such as Windows, Linux or FreeBSD. This is what the Vertage hypervisor, VirtualBox and VMware Workstation are classified as. So native hypervisors run directly on the hardware, while hosted a hypervisor needs an operating system to do its work. Which one is better? Like, it depends on what you are after. The bare metal hypervisor are faster and more efficient as they do not need to go through the operating system and other layers that usually make hosted environment slower. The Type 1 hypervisor are also more secure than Type 2 hypervisor. Hosted hypervisor, on other hand, are much easier to set up than bare metal hypervisor because you have an operating system to work with, and these are also compatible with a broad range of hardwares. So like, if we talk about more on the Type 2 hypervisor, this type of hypervisor runs inside an operating system of a physical host machine. This is why we call as two type hypervisor and hosted hypervisor. And opposed to the Type 1 hypervisor that run directly on the hardware, hosted hypervisor have one software layer underneath. In this case, we are having physical machine, then the operating system, then the Type 2 hypervisor, then the actual instance of the virtual machines. So what are the difference between like, if we consider Type 1 and Type 2 hypervisor? The most commonly deployed type of hypervisor is the Type 1, or we can say bare metal hypervisor, where virtualization software is installed directly on the hardware where the operating system is normally installed. And because bare metal hypervisor are isolated from the attack-prone operating system, they are extremely secure. In addition, they generally perform better and more efficiently than hosted hypervisor. For these reasons, most enterprise companies choose bare metal hypervisor for data center computing needs. Also, while bare metal hypervisor run directly on the computing hardware, hosted hypervisor run on the top of the operating system of the host machine. Although hosted hypervisor run with the OS additional like operating system can be installed on the top of the hypervisor, the downside of hosted hypervisor is that latency is higher than bare metal hypervisor. This is because the communication between hardware and hypervisor must pass through the extra layer of OS. Hosted hypervisors are sometimes known as client hypervisor because they are most often used with end users and software testing, where higher latency is less of concern. If we look about the hardware acceleration technology that can create and manage virtual resources faster by booting the processing speed for both bare metal and hosted hypervisor. A type of hardware accelerator known as a virtual dedicated graphics accelerator VDGA that takes care of sending and refreshing high-end 3D graphics. This fills up the main system for other tasks and greatly increases the display speed of images. For industries such as oil and gas exploration, where there is no need to quickly visualize complex data, this technology can be very useful. Both the type of hypervisor can run multiple virtual server for multiple tenants on one virtual machine, or we can say the physical machine. Public cloud service providers lease server space on different virtual server to different companies. One server might host several virtual servers that are all running workloads for different companies. This type of resources sharing can result in a noisy neighbor effect. When one of the tenants run a large workload that interferes with the server performance for other tenants, it also poses more of a security risk than using a dedicated bare metal server. A bare metal server that a single company has full control over will always provide higher performance than a virtual server that is sharing a physical server's bandwidth, memory, and processing power with the virtual machines it's having. The hardware for bare metal server can also be optimized to increase the performance, which is not the case with shared public servers. Businesses that need to comply with regulations that require physical separation of resources will need to use their own bare metal servers that do not share resources with other tenants. So let's take a look to the benefits of using hypervisor. There are four benefits: speed, efficiency, flexibility, and portability. So let's talk about the speed. Hypervisors allow virtual machine to be created instantly. Unlike bare metal servers, this makes it easier to provision resources as needed for dynamic workloads. Let me clear this out, don't get confused between the bare metal server and bare metal hypervisor. Both means the same but in a different way. Like for the bare metal hypervisors, we are installing hypervisor or the virtualization technology to the hardware only. There is no operating system layer. And the bare metal servers are the physical servers. In the layman language, you can say that it is a physical server where we are installing the operating system to the hardware itself. Second benefit is efficiency. Hypervisors that run several virtual machines on one physical machine's resources also allow for more efficient utilization of one physical server. It is more cost and energy efficient to run several virtual machines on one physical machine than to run multiple underutilized physical machines for the same task. Flexibility. Bare metal hypervisors allow operating system and their associated applications to run on a variety of hardware types. And because the hypervisor separates the OS from the underlying hardware, so the software no longer relies on a specific hardware device or drivers. The last benefit which we will talk about it is portability. Hypervisors allow multiple operating systems to reside on the same physical server, the host machine. Because the virtual machine that the hypervisor runs are independent from the physical machine, they are portable. IT teams can shift workload and allocate networking, memory, storage, and processing resource across multiple servers as needed, moving from machine to machine or platform to platform. When an application needs more processing power, the virtualization software allows it to seamlessly access additional machines. So that's all with the introduction to hypervisor. I hope you have understand well. If you're having any queries related to this topic or any other topic, you can just reach out to us on itsfun.com, or you can drop a comment in the comment section below. Thank you. Welcome back everyone to the learning series of VMware virtualization. In this lesson, I will gonna teach you about the virtual machines. This is a very important topic if you are starting up with the beginner. And if you are having any queries related to any other topics, kindly drop a comment on the comment section below, or you can reach out to us on itsfun.com. So the first question is, what is a virtual machine? A virtual machine is a virtual representation or emulation of a physical computer. They are often referred to as a guest, while the physical machine they run on is referred to as the host. Virtualization makes it possible to create multiple virtual machines, each with their own operating system and applications. On a single physical machine, a VM cannot interact directly with a physical computer. Instead, it needs a lightweight software layer called as a hypervisor to coordinate between it and the underlying physical hardware as well. The hypervisor allocates physical computing resources such as processor, memory, and storage to each virtual machine. It keeps each VM separated from others so they don't interfere with each other. While this technology can go by many names including virtual server instance, we can say the VSI, and virtual private servers, this article will simply refer them as virtual machines. What are the advantages and benefits of virtual machine? VMs offer several benefits over traditional physical hardware. Resource utilization and improved ROI. Because multiple virtual machines run on a single physical computer, customers don't have to buy a new server every time they want to run another OS. And they can get more return from each piece of hardware they already own. Scaling. With cloud computing, it's easy to deploy a machine, or you can say the multiple copies of the same virtual machine to better serve increases in load. Portability. VMs can be relocated as needed among the physical computers in a network. This makes it possible to allocate workload to several servers that have separate computing power. VMs can even move between on-premise and cloud environment, making them useful for hybrid cloud scenarios in which you share computing resources between your data center and a cloud service provider. Now the flexibility. Creating a virtual machine is faster and easier than installing an OS on a physical server. Because you can clone a VM with the OS already installed, developers and software testers can create new environment on demand to handle new tasks as they arise. Security. VMs improve security in several ways when compared to operating systems running directly on hardware. A VM is a file that can be scanned for malicious software by external program. We can create an entire snapshot of the VM at any point of time and then restore it to that state if it becomes infected with malware, effectively taking a VM back in time. The fast, easy creation of VM also makes it possible to completely delete a compromised virtual machine and then recreate it quickly. Extending recovery from malware infections. So the types of virtual machines. We are having Mac virtual machines, Windows virtual machine, Linux, Android, iOS, Java, Python, VMware, and Ubuntu. Let's take a look at it. Windows virtual machine. Most hypervisors support VM running the Windows as a guest. Microsoft's Hyper-V hypervisor comes as a part of Windows operating system, and when installed it creates a parent partition containing both itself and the primary Windows operating system, each of which gets privileged access to the hardware. Other operating systems including Windows Guest run in child partitions that communicate with the hardware via the parent partition. Linux virtual machines. It is a common guest operating system used in many virtual machines. It is also a common host OS used to run multiple virtual machines and even has its own hypervisor called as kernel-based virtual machine. We can say in short KVM. The mainstream Linux kernel has included the KVM since 2007. Although it is an open source project that had now owns the original company that developed the KVM. Android virtual machine. Google's open source Android OS is common on mobile devices and are connected to home devices such as home entertainment devices. The Android operating system runs only on the ARM processor architecture that is common to these devices. But enthusiasts, Android gamers, or software developers might want to run it on PCs as well, which is not good. This is problematic because PCs run on an entirely different x86 processor architecture and a hardware virtualization hypervisor that only passes instructions between the virtual machine and the CPU. It doesn't translate them for processors with different instruction set. There are various projects to address this problem. Some projects such as Shashlik or Genymotion use an emulator that recreates the ARM architecture in software. One alternative, the Android x86 project, ports Android to the x86 architecture instead. To run it, you must install the Android x86 program as a virtual machine using the VirtualBox Type 2 hypervisor. Another alternative, Andbox runs the Android operating system on the kernel of a host Linux OS. Now we are having Mac virtual machines. Apple only allows its Mac OS to run on Apple hardware, prohibiting people from running it on non-Apple hardware as VM or otherwise under its end-user license agreement. We can use Type 2 hypervisor on Mac hardware to create virtual machine with a Mac OS guest. iOS virtual machines. It is not possible to run iOS in a virtual machine today because Apple strictly control its iOS OS and doesn't allow it to run on anything other than the iOS device. The closest thing to an iOS VM is the iPhone simulator that ships with the Xcode integrated development environment, which simulates the entire iPhone system in software. Java Virtual Machine. The Java platform is an execution environment for programs written in the Java software development language. Java's promise was write once run anywhere functionality. This means that any Java program could run on any hardware running the Java platform. To achieve that, the Java platform includes a Java Virtual Machine (JVM). Java programs contain bytecode which are instructions intended for the JVM. The JVM compiles this bytecode to machine code, which is the lowest level language used by the host computer. The JVM in one computing platform, Java platform, will create a different set of machine code instruction to the JVM in another's based on the machine code that processor expects. The JVM therefore doesn't run an entire operating system and doesn't use a hypervisor as other VMs do. Instead, it translates application level software program to run on particular hardware. Now, Python virtual machines. Like the JVM, the Python virtual machine doesn't run on a hypervisor and it doesn't contain a guest OS. It is a tool that enables programs written in the Python programming language to run on a variety of CPUs. Similar to Java, Python translates its program into an intermediate format called bytecode, storing it in a file ready for execution. When the program runs, the Python VM translates the bytecode into machine code for faster execution. VMware Virtual Machines. It was an early virtualization software vendor and is now a popular provider for both Type 1 and Type 2 hypervisor and VM software to enterprise customers. There is a VMware, a complete guide that provides a comprehensive overview of all the things under the VMware. Also, we can say that VMware is the king of the virtualization in the market. Although we are having Google Cloud, Azure, everything under the market, but the stability, the performance, the speed which VMware is providing, we can't get it anywhere. And also VMware clubs with the Microsoft and providing the virtual machines that are backend makeup of VMware ESXi and that are more reliable. And also these are most selling products. If we talk about the Microsoft's cloud and the VMware Architecture's cloud, the VMware Architecture's cloud is selling more as compared to all other clouds. Last, we are having Ubuntu Virtual Machine. It is a Linux distribution provided by Canonical. It is available in desktop and server versions, either of which we can install as a VM. Ubuntu can be deployed as a guest operating system on Microsoft Hyper-V. It provides an optimized version of Ubuntu desktop that works well in Hyper-V's enhanced session mode, providing tight integration between the Windows host and Ubuntu VM. It includes support for clipboard integration, the dynamic desktop sizing, shared folders, and moving mouse between the host and the guest desktops. The use cases of virtual machines. VMs have several uses both for enterprise IT administrator and the normal users. Here are the few options like the cloud computing, support DevOps, testing a new operating system, and investigating malware. For the cloud computing, for last 10 plus years, VMs have been a fundamental unit of compute and cloud, enabling dozens of different types of applications and workloads to run and scale successfully. Supporting DevOps. VMs are a great way to support enterprise developers who can configure VM template with the setting for their software development and testing processes. They can create virtual machine for specific tasks such as static software test and including these steps in an automated development workflow. This all helps streamline the DevOps tool chain. Testing a new operating system. A VM lets us test drive a new operating system on a desktop without affecting our primary OS. Investigating malware. VMs are useful for malware researchers that frequently need fresh machine on which to test malicious programs. Running incompatible software. Some users may prefer one OS while still needing a program that is only available in another. One good example is the Dragon range of voice dictation software. Its vendor Nuance has discontinued the macOS version of its product. However, running a desktop-focused hypervisor such as VMware Fusion or Parallels enables us to run Windows in a VM, giving us access to that version of software. Browsing securely. Using a virtual machine for browsing enables us to visit sites without worrying about infection. We can take a snapshot of your machine and then roll back it to after each browsing session. This is something that a user could set up for themselves. Using a Type 2 desktop hypervisor, alternatively an admin could provide a temporary virtual desktop located on the server. So that's all related to the virtual machines or the VMs. And I hope you have studied well, and if you are having any queries related to this topic or any another topic, you can just reach out to us on itsfun.com or drop a comment on the comment section below. Thank you. Welcome back everyone to the learning series of VMware virtualization. In this lesson we will talk about virtual machines versus containers and bare metal server. How are they different and which one is better? First, let me guide you with an overview of the virtual machine. VMs are technology for building virtualized computing environments. They have been around for quite a while and are considered the foundation of the first generation of cloud computing. Simply putting, a virtual machine is an emulation of a physical computer. VMs enable teams to run what appear to be multiple machines with multiple OS on a single computer. VMs interact with physical computers by using lightweight software layers called as hypervisors. Hypervisors can separate VMs from one another and allocate processors, memory, and storage among them. VMs are also known as virtual servers, virtual server instance, and virtual private servers. We have already discussed in our previous lessons. You can check this out on the card which is showing above. Containers. Containers are a lighter weight, more agile way of handling virtualization. Rather than spinning up an entire virtual machine, a container packages together everything needed to run a small piece of software. The container includes all the code, dependencies, and even the operating system itself. This enables application to run at almost anywhere, a desktop computer, traditional IT infrastructure, or the cloud. Containers uses a form of operating system virtualization. Putting simply, they leverage features of the operating system to isolate processes and controlling the process's access to the CPU, memory, and disk space. Containers have been around for decades, but the common consequences is that the modern container era began in 2013 with introduction to Docker. We'll also discuss what is container and Dockers in detail in our coming lessons, but these are not too much necessary now. So what are the difference between, or we can say what is versus between the virtual machine and containers? In traditional virtualization, a hypervisor virtualizes physical hardware. The result is that each virtual machine contains a guest operating system, a virtual copy of the hardware that the OS requires to run, and an application and its associated libraries and dependencies. Instead of virtualizing the underlying hardware, containers virtualize the operating system, like typically Linux, so each individual container contains only the application and its libraries and dependencies. There are no operating system. Containers are small, fast, and portable because, unlike the virtual machine, containers do not need to include a guest OS in every instance and can instead simply leverage the features and resources of the host operating system. Just like virtual machines, containers allow developers to improve CPU and memory utilization of physical machine. Containers go even further, however, because they also enable microservice architecture where application component can be deployed and scaled more granularly. This is an attractive alternative to having to scale up an entire monolithic application because a single component is struggling with. Now, what is the difference between virtual machine and bare metal servers? Choosing a virtual machine over a physical one, also known as the bare metal server, is less about competing capabilities and more knowing about what you need and when we need it. Bare metal servers are all about raw hardware, power, and isolation. They are single tenant physical server completely void of hypervisor cycles and entirely dedicated to a single customer like you. Workloads that highly prioritize performance and seclusion, like data intensive application and regulatory compliance mandates, that are typically best suited for bare metal servers, especially when deployed over sustained periods of time. E-commerce, ERP, CRM, SCM, and financial services applications are just a few workloads ideal for bare metal servers. So when would we place a hypervisor on the top of the bare metal hardware to make it a virtual machine? When our workload demands maximum flexibility and scalability, and the virtual machine effortlessly drives up server capacity and increases the utilization. This is ideal for moving from one virtual machine to another, resizing datasets, and dividing dynamic workloads. So that's all related to the VMs versus bare metals and the containers. Don't get confused between the containers and the virtual machine and the mini operating system which we came out in the Windows Server 2019. So that's all for today, and if you're having any queries related to this topic or any other topic, you can just read out to us on itsfun.com or drop a comment on the comment section below. Thank you. Welcome back everyone to the learning series of VMware virtualization. In this lesson, we will talk about virtual machines versus containers and bare metal server. How are they different and which one is better? First, let me guide you with an overview of the virtual machine. VMs are a technology for building virtualized computing environments. They have been around for quite a while and are considered the foundation of the first generation of cloud computing. Simply putting, a virtual machine is an emulation of a physical computer. VMs enable teams to run what appear to be multiple machines. with multiple OS on a single computer. VMs interact with physical computers by using lightweight software layers called as hypervisors. Hypervisors can separate VMs from one another and allocate processors, memory, and storage among them. VMs are also known as virtual servers, virtual server instance, and virtual private servers. We have already discussed in our previous lessons. You can check this out on the card which is showing above. Containers. Containers are a lighter weight, more agile way of handling virtualization. Rather than spinning up an entire virtual machine, a container packages together everything needed to run a small piece of software. The container includes all the code, dependencies, and even the operating system itself. This enables application to run at almost anywhere, a desktop computer, traditional IT infrastructure, or the cloud. Containers uses a form of operating system virtualization. Putting simply, they leverage features of the operating system to isolate processes and controlling the processes access to the CPU, memory, and disk space. Containers have been around for decades, but the common consequences is that the modern container era began in 2013 with introduction to Docker. We'll also discuss what is container and Dockers in detail in our coming lessons, but these are not too much necessary now. So what are the difference between, or we can say what is versus between the virtual machine and containers? In traditional virtualization, a hypervisor virtualizes physical hardware. The result is that each virtual machine contains a guest operating system, a virtual copy of the hardware that the OS requires to run, and an application and its associated libraries and dependencies. Instead of virtualizing the underlying hardware, containers virtualize the operating system, like typically Linux. So each individual container contains only the application and its libraries and dependencies. There are no operating system. Containers are small, fast, and portable because, unlike the virtual machine, containers do not need to include a guest OS in every instance and can instead simply leverage the features and resources of the host operating system. Just like virtual machines, containers allow developers to improve CPU and memory utilization of physical machine. Containers go even further, however, because they also enable microservice architecture where application component can be deployed and scaled more granularly. This is an attractive alternative to having to scale up an entire monolithic application because a single component is struggling with. Now, what is the difference between virtual machine and bare metal servers? Choosing a virtual machine over a physical one, also known as the bare metal server, is less about computing capabilities and more knowing about what you need and when we need it. Bare metal servers are all about raw hardware, power, and isolation. They are single tenant physical server completely void of hypervisor cycles and entirely dedicated to a single customer like you. Workloads that highly prioritize performance and seclusion, like data intensive application and regulatory compliance mandates, that are typically best suited for bare metal servers, especially when deployed over sustained periods of time. E-commerce, ERP, CRM, SCM, and financial services applications are just a few workloads ideal for bare metal servers. So when would we place a hypervisor on the top of the bare metal hardware to make it a virtual machine? When our workload demand maximum flexibility and scalability, and the virtual machine effortlessly drives up server capacity and increases the utilization. This is ideal for moving from one virtual machine to another, resizing datasets, and dividing dynamic workloads. So that's all related to the VMs versus bare metals and the containers. Don't get confused between the containers and the virtual machine and the mini operating system which we came out in the Windows Server 2019. So that's all for today, and if you're having any queries related to this topic or any other topic, you can just read out to us on itsfun.com or drop a comment on the comment section below. Thank you. Thanks for watching. Do like, share and comment our videos. Also subscribe to our channel.